Am I the asshole for agreeing with my daughter that I didn't like her name? Mildred. That's my 6-year-old daughter's name. I fought so hard to not have her named that, but my wife was dead set on it. Who even names their kid Mildred anymore? Are we in the 19th century or something? And plus I know how kids are. Sure enough, I picked up my daughter from school today and usually she's excited when I pick her up, but she was quiet. I kept asking her what was wrong, and when we were almost home, she finally confessed and said that someone in her class had said that her name sounded like a grandma. Basically, old. She said she didn't like her name anymore, and I tried to sympathize by saying, "I'm sorry, kiddo. Yeah, I never liked your name either. I thought it was a stupid name when I first heard it, but everyone in the family thought it was okay, and I got shot down. But on the bright side, you can change it when you get older." We were in the garage by then and she looked at me in horror and said, "You don't like my name either?" And she opened the door, crying, and ran inside before I could catch her. She told her mother that I said her name was stupid. Somehow she also forgot to mention the kid in her class who started it. And even after I explained the whole situation to my wife, she was mad and wanted me to apologize. I refused. I said, "Apologize for what? I don't like the name, I never liked the name, and our daughter doesn't even like the name." I was mad at the moment, too, so I walked away, but later I tried to talk to our daughter and ask why she just started crying like that because I was genuinely confused. Still am, to be honest. But all she said was that she wasn't happy at me, and that she didn't want to talk to me right at the moment. I'm not too worried about my daughter because she's 6, so she'll probably forget it by tomorrow or like a week at most. But my wife is really mad at me right now because she was telling me that I should apologize tomorrow, and I kept saying no. I think she just feels guilty that she named our daughter Mildred, but I'm curious if I'm the asshole here. All I did was agree with my daughter when she said she didn't like her name. I still want an explanation why she just started crying like that. Edit. For anyone just reading this, if you reach this point, I think I have enough replies. I'm going to bed soon, so I just want to reply to the answers I've already received and I don't want this to get too big. It's not that serious. Thank you. Edit 2. I think I've replied to everyone. The consensus seems to be that I should apologize, but I think I'll wait and see if my daughter even remembers this in the morning. And I'm definitely not apologizing until she tells me she just randomly started crying like that. She said she didn't like her name, I agreed, and she started crying. Makes no sense. Should I do update tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Anyway, good night. Thank you for the replies. Also, anyone just reading this for the first time, you don't need to leave any more comments, if you're just gonna say you are the asshole. I get the point. I would be interested to see if anyone has any not the asshole comments, and I will definitely try to look and read those tomorrow. Night everyone. You are the asshole. I still want an explanation why she just started crying like that. Explanation. Because she is 6 years old, was bullied for her name, something she didn't choose, and needed to be consoled. You failed. Please read a parenting book. Also, consider couples therapy if you and your wife cannot compromise on something as big as naming your child. For what it's worth, you don't have to like the name Mildred. But as a parent you should learn how to better love and cafe for your daughter, whose name is Mildred. Also, if this becomes an issue when she gets older and she pushes for a name change, let her go by her middle name or Millie. Edit. Agree with everyone else. You owe your daughter an apology. Also, some ice cream. Yeah. Your daughter is going to remember this even if she's 6. Geez, you really are a huge aw. You are the asshole, a huge one. You just sided with an elementary school bully, congratulations. So when the kid comes up to you in 4 years and says, "I don't like my face," because some kid made fun of their freckles, are you making fun of that too? Your job is to tell her that her name is beautiful, even if you hate it. That's your job. Which you have epically failed. Oh. I'm not too worried about my daughter because she's 6, so she'll probably forget it by tomorrow or like a week at most. No. Daddy thinks my name is ugly is the kind of shit that sticks with the kid. Kids don't remember is BS. Kids remember and take it into their adult lives and anxiety attacks over it. You are the asshole big time. How can you not realize that, thinks my name is ugly, gets kinda like to, thinks I am ugly, or, loves me less because he let me have a ugly name in the child's mind? How oblivious can you be? You better work on your emotional maturity, emotional intelligente, ability to read the room and empathy. You are the asshole. You made a 6-year-old cry and you weren't sorry. She's 6. The last thing she needed to hear is that her parent doesn't like her name. A 6-year-old is not equipped to separate rejecting her name from rejecting her. And that's why you are the asshole. Sure, she can change it when she's older, but what the fuck were you thinking? Are you for real? After 6 years of associating the name Mildred with your daughter, you're still fine calling Mildred a stupid name. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. Your daughter is 6. You should be helping explain her emotions to her, not the other way around. You literally have less emotional intelligence than a 6-year-old. You should be ashamed of yourself. To insist, after being told dozens of times that you were wrong and owe your daughter an apology, that you actually won't apologize unless your daughter continues to be emotionally braver than you and continues to directly confront and explain to her own authority figure why your bullying makes her feel bad. You should be so embarrassed. She's going to remember the time she went to her father for comfort and that he shit on her instead for a long time. Am I the asshole for yelling at my wife to wake up during a tornado warning? We had known that a big storm and possibly tornadoes were on the way. We discussed a plan with my parents in the event of an emergency, which was to leave our trailer and get to their house, a hurricane fortress. Not tornado though. We know their house stands a better chance than our double-wide. At a little past 1 a.m. we get the warnings. No big deal so far, but I double-checked the radar and we were about 30 minutes out and fucking directly in the path. Now generally she and I have a pretty good understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses. She is caring, kind, nurturing, but she does not have a good flight or fight response. She freezes. When adrenaline hits, she loses the ability to think on her feet. I am not faulting her here. People cannot help their response and it would take intense training to try and only maybe change it. I am almost the exact opposite. I have a security background. Mostly residential or hospitality, but I got my start working in a jail. Emergency prep, quick assessment and decision-making, and clear thinking under stress. Those are my skills. What I lack though is the ability to consider one's feelings during those times. So it is 1 a.m., warnings go off, we are 30 million out in a danger zone. I wake up my wife, explain the situation. As I am trying to contact my parents, she is like, trying to rationalize staying in bed. Telling me but it's raining, or that is 1 a.m. At that point my empathy turned off. No time for conversation. To me, at decision time we follow through. No time to discuss, we can talk about it after. So I cut her off, abruptly, by shouting her name at the absolute top of my lungs, and then started issuing orders once I had her attention. Was it nice? Of course not. Until that point our conversation had eaten up time and she had not even budged, rolled over to look at me, and I still had to gather our daughters. I was not comfortable with a 30 million lead when I would need a second trip to get our animals. So no, it was not nice, but it got her up and moving instantly while I got the kids. We were able to get across the street quickly after that, sheltering nicely. The warning was soon cancelled after we arrived, the best possible outcome. But she is still mad, seeing the storm pass as if we should have just ignored the warning. Telling me again, that it is 1 a.m. and I didn't have to shout. As if a tornado keeps track of time. I'm not mad at her for being mad at me. I understand she's sleepy but. For FKN real, but it's 1 a.m. When I tell you the thing we were worried might happen is probably about to happen now. IDK. I don't feel foolish as you always plan for the worst and hope for the best. I know most of these warnings fall flat. But this was aimed straight at my neighborhood with only 30 minutes to move. Also she has a habit of falling back asleep if you don't keep pestering her to wake up. We just didn't have time for the normal pester routine. She busts her ass, not faulting my sleepy baby. IDK guys? Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Assuming you two have agreed on what the safety procedure will be, you should not have to cajole and baby her into it. If she doesn't have the self-control to wake up and act as agreed, then you need to get her attention. Not the asshole. You have children to take care of as well and you must do the right thing. Too bad if she is upset. She would be more upset if some of you were badly injured or died. God forbid. Good luck to you. Not the asshole. So many tornado deaths happen in trailers in the middle of the night. It's really not safe for you to be there. One possible compromise is that you spend the night at her parents' house on nights when bad weather is expected. That way you won't have quite the same urgency. But seriously, her behavior is how you end up finding bodies in trees. I grew up in a tornado-prone area. You do not F around with those, especially in a trailer. Not the asshole. And don't worry, she will be over this once she has a good night's sleep. She is just grouchy because she is tired. Not the asshole. We had tornado warnings go off several years ago in the late afternoon, and the radar showed it coming straight at us. Tried repeatedly to get my wife in the basement, which she didn't want to do, TBF, she is on crutches and dislikes stairs. As we are arguing, a big maple in my front yard crashed down, missing the room we were standing in by only several feet. When the storm was over, I looked at my wife and said, "The next time there's a tornado barreling down on us, I'm giving you one warning to get to the basement, and then I'm taking the doggos and going down, with or without you. If you and the house are still upstairs after the storm, then we can discuss whether I'm in a hole." Surprisingly, we've had no problems getting her into the basement since then. Not the asshole. You thought you and your family lives were endangered. You don't have time to wait for someone to wake up if you need to get to a tornado shelter or to the best area of the house to ride it out with your kids. It sucks to be awoken to your significant other screaming at you, but at least it ain't a tornado waking you up by hitting your house. Totally not the asshole. Maybe get her to watch clips of tornado damage, particularly of trailers. Hopefully that should give her the wake-up call she needs to understand that you were doing your sacred duty of ensuring your family's safety. She needs a reality check. If I were you, I would 100% do exactly as you did. You should never take your chances with a tornado warning. Stay alive, don't become another tragic statistic. Not the asshole. Next time if she does the same, take your kids to safety first, then try get her moving when you go back for the animals. You can't force someone to prioritize their safety, but you can ensure your daughters are out of harm's way. Am I the asshole for publicly calling out the school nurse? Me, 34M. My daughter with type 1 diabetes, 11F. My daughter has T1D, and has been diagnosed since she was 5. For the most part, she handles it like a champ, but she's a kid. Sometimes it sucks. I don't blame her when she's upset about it. She's gotten very good at managing how she's feeling and speaking up when she feels off or wrong. That said, she's 11, and the nurse and 2 of her block teachers are meant to supervise when she gives herself medication. We have a 504 plan in place at her school and have had it in place since diagnosis. I have conferences with teachers every year, and since she started at the middle school this year, her new nurse and administrative staff. I let my daughter speak her piece and let her feel heard. She's struggled with non-school extracurricular before ignoring her concerns when she says she doesn't feel good because she looks fine. This school year started the end of August and we met a week prior. I got a call Monday afternoon while I was at work saying that the school bus driver had to call the ambulance for my daughter on the way home because she fainted. My job is 40 minutes away, so I said I would meet them at the hospital. She was awake and chatting with her nurse when I got there. Her blood sugar had dropped very, very low while she was at school. She was feeling better and didn't seem too bothered, so I took her home once allowed and let her pick a movie to watch. Once the movie was over, I asked if she didn't feel good at school. I needed to make sure she wasn't ignoring her symptoms and had eaten lunch. She told me that she felt weird just before the end of the day, and checked her sugar with her teacher, who had sent her to the nurse when it was really low. When she told the nurse she needed glucagon, the nurse said no and she should take it at home when she gets there. At this point, I was raging. The nurse did not give her her medication and then sent her to the bus. The 504 plan in place has a stipulation that if her blood sugar is too low at the end of the day, she cannot take the bus home. The nurse is supposed to give her glucagon and I get called to pick her up, arrange someone to take her home. The bus drivers aren't trained to know what to look for or to give her medication. I called the school Tuesday morning to arrange a meeting to talk about what happened. We scheduled it, but it hasn't happened yet. In the meantime, I went wild. Mile-long Facebook post with pictures of the 504 and hospital bill and me ranting. It kind of took off and got a lot of attention. Last night, my siblings and coworkers started telling me maybe I went too far in making the post, specifically in my naming the nurse. It was shared in a couple of different pages on Facebook for our county and town, and a lot of people have been making comments on the school board's social medias about the nurse. A lot of the outrage comes from other parents with kids on 504 or IEP plans. Am I the asshole for calling out the school nurse? Not the asshole. The nurse neglected a medical plan and your daughter got sick because of it. I'd do the same thing. If she can't care for the children and do her job, then she doesn't need to be a nurse. Not the asshole. The nurse was wildly irresponsible for sending a child with a low blood glucose level anywhere, never mind onto a bus. I would have reacted exactly the same way. She put your baby's life at risk, and that is the worst distress someone can cause a parent. That said, just double-check with someone in the know to make sure that there are no potential legal ramifications to your post. Perhaps put a disclaimed post out to say that you're speaking to the school and the result of that is pending, just to cover yourself. Not the asshole, not the asshole, not the asshole. You did not go too far. You haven't gone far enough, emo. This is serious. Not the asshole. JFC. This is the second type of post I've seen about school staff blatantly ignoring 504. You do not mess with the AITA. Facebook and social media are going to be the least of the school's concerns after this. They can get sanctioned or worse from letting this stuff slide. I would not be surprised if the school nurse got canned after this, and she should be. Partially based on comments. Clearly, something went wrong, and a responsible adult at the school screwed up. However, blasting the school and the nurse by name based on the word of an 11-year-old who was experiencing not just the physical but mental effects of low blood sugar, prior to the meeting scheduled to discuss the incident, was premature. Especially since you say in comments that a previous 504 plan did allow your daughter to go home on the bus, and you don't know if the nurse was given the correct one. If it turns out the nurse didn't actually screw up the way it seems, it doesn't matter how hard you try to walk it back. He's never going to stop feeling the after effects of this. Edit. Spelling. Not the asshole. That nurse jeopardized your child's safety, and who knows who else she had done this to. She deserved to be put on blast. Fiancé of AT1 here, so I'm totally biased. Not the asshole. That nurse should know better. Her decision is appalling, and she's lucky your daughter didn't die or get severely injured when she had fainted. The few times I've seen my fiancé low, talking literally single digits, have been terrifying for so many reasons. You should be angry. The other parents in your community should also be angry. Maybe it wouldn't be diabetes, but what if another child develops a medical condition that requires a 504 or IEP? What if the nurse has done this before but nothing really significant happened then, and that your daughter is just the first time she was caught? Seriously, I cannot emphasize enough how not the asshole you are here. And #X200B. Edited for a typo. I'd have waited until after the meeting to hear the nurse's piece. You may end up with egg on your face if she comes to the table with something legitimate. Am I the asshole for ruining my sister's first chance to host family Christmas? Am I the asshole for ruining my sister's first chance to host family Christmas? Background. I live in Central Europe, my parents on the west coast of the US where I grew up and near other family and friends, and my sister on the east coast with her husband where they recently purchased a house. My sister has been talking about hosting our family for Christmas at her house this year. She planned this last year, but COVID. The problem is my sister is notoriously difficult when it comes to planning family vacations and get-togethers. She refuses to commit to or even discuss any kind of plans, and often makes last-minute changes that everyone has to adapt to. This has caused many headaches in the past and is a bit the same in her plans to host this year's Christmas. Last summer while I was visiting, I brought up Christmas plans. She said she still wanted to host it there but needed to work out the details with their work, her husband's family plans, etc. Over the past couple of months, I've been gently nudging her for more details. She only responded once with, "We're thinking about it but still have to talk to the family." Waiting is a problem for me though. International travel is expensive and I'm on a limited budget, so buying airline tickets early is always a plus. On top of that I have several things to organize with work, and temporarily moving to another country in January for work, subletting apartment, etc. I explained this to her and said that even any information, like prospective dates or a time when they might have a decision, would be incredibly helpful. No response. She doesn't answer or return calls. When I get her via text, I feel like I have to trap her into conversations about Christmas. Anytime I bring up the topic, she immediately stops responding to my messages. I've tried to ramp up my efforts over the past weeks, explaining my situation, emailing her possible plans, offering to talk, etc. Nothing. I've talked to my parents about their plans. They know nothing about what she is planning or just waiting for her to decide whether she will host or not. I got sick of not getting any response. I found a decent ticket to go home, and not to my sister's, so I bought it. I told my parents and sister that I'm going home, and if they still want to have Christmas at her place that's fine, but I won't be there. Now everyone is furious, especially my sister. She says I've been pressuring her to make decisions. I don't respect how busy she is and how challenging it is to organize things, and that I should have been patient with her and waited for her to let me know the plan. Now, according to my sister, mother, and a few other members of the family, I've ruined her chance to host the first Christmas, and in their opinion AITA. My take is that she's the asshole for keeping everyone in the dark about her plans and making them wait, completely ignoring all my attempts to talk to her and not considering the financial and timing aspects of my plans. Not the asshole. November is a mere few days away and she is being incredibly wishy-washy on plans still no. That's incredibly inconsiderate for such long-distance travel. No one is asking her to plan meals or events, just pick dates so transportation can be arranged. She's ridiculous. If your mom is so hung up on it, she can pay to fly you there instead when your sister gets around to deciding her plans. And #X200B. You didn't ruin this, your sister ruined it for herself. Not the asshole. As an expat myself, I can totally empathize with your predicament. I have to plan months in advance for tickets and stuff too, so I get where you're coming from. International travel is a nightmare, and that's not even factoring in the pandemic. PCR tests have to be scheduled. Tickets get more expensive during certain season, etc. Your sister is at fault for only thinking about herself. Not the asshole. Your sister expects you to be able to fly down on the flip of a dime as to when the date will be. That just doesn't work when you're coming from a different place, let alone continent. Your sister is a major ass for ignoring you when you need the time, then making you out to be the villain. I say not the asshole. I have in-laws that do something similar. Mind you, we don't need to travel super long distances like you, so that's way worse. But it's incredibly frustrating not knowing what the actual plans are until almost day of, and often they drop out of things too last minute. It's unfair to everyone else that also have lives to plan around. I think it's cruddy your family is taking her side on it. Sounds like she's jerking them around too. Not the asshole. It's almost November. The least your sister could have done by now is decided on dates. For many people it is already too late to request leave for December, depending on company policy. You should have explicitly communicated with everyone about this before buying the tickets. If we don't have specifics decided by XXYY, then I'm going to go ahead and buy my tickets for holiday on the West Coast. That might have lit a fire under your parents to get her to commit to dates to host. What you're done here is put them in the position of now having to choose who to celebrate Christmas with, without them having a chance to fix things first. Not the asshole. If she wants to host Christmas, then she has to actually host Christmas. Not the asshole. Especially if it's coming out of your pocket, she should have done right by you and made concrete plans. You literally can't afford to wait around for her to be indecisive.